What if I told you there was a time when nobody had a job? No offices, no emails, no alarm clocks, and definitely no Monday mornings. Thousands of years ago, before companies, salaries, and careers existed, humans lived very differently. But if they didn't have jobs, what did they do all day? Let's travel back to the age of hunter-gatherers. Ancient humans usually woke up with the sunrise. There were no clocks, so nature decided when the day began. The first thing they did was check their surroundings. Was the weather good? Were there signs of danger nearby? Were there animals that could be hunted for food? Unlike modern people who rush to work, ancient humans focused on one thing: survival. Many members of the group would head out to search for food. Some followed animal tracks, hoping to catch deer or other prey. Hunting wasn't easy. It often required patience, teamwork, and skill. Sometimes hunters spent hours tracking animals before getting a chance to make a successful catch. But hunting wasn't the only way to get food. In fact, gathering plants, berries, nuts, fruits, and roots was often more reliable. People learned which plants were safe to eat and which could make them sick. This knowledge was passed down from generation to generation and was essential for survival. Water was another daily necessity. Someone had to collect fresh water from rivers, lakes, or streams. Others gathered firewood to keep the camp warm and cook meals. Ancient humans also spent time making and repairing tools. Spears became dull, baskets wore out, and shelters needed maintenance. Stone tools had to be sharpened carefully. If a tool broke, people usually repaired it because resources were valuable and nothing was wasted. Shelters also required attention. Strong winds, rain, and changing seasons could damage homes made from branches, animal skins, or natural materials. Keeping a shelter in good condition was an important part of everyday life. After food was collected, people often gathered together to prepare meals. Unlike many modern societies, food was usually shared among the group. Cooperation helped everyone survive, especially during difficult times. But ancient life wasn't just work. People spent time talking, laughing, teaching children, and sharing stories around campfires. Storytelling was one of the most important ways to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. Through stories, children learned where to find food, how to avoid danger, and how to understand the world around them. Children weren't sitting in classrooms. Instead, they learned by watching adults and practicing real-life skills. They learned how to recognize edible plants, track animals, make tools, and work with others. Many groups also created music, danced, and celebrated important events. Archaeologists have found evidence suggesting that humans have enjoyed music and art for tens of thousands of years. Cave paintings, some of which still exist today, show that creativity has always been part of human life. Ancient people also spent time observing nature. They watched animal behavior, changing seasons, weather patterns, and the stars in the night sky. Understanding nature wasn't a hobby, it was a survival skill. And surprisingly, some researchers believe many hunter-gatherers may have worked fewer hours than the average modern office worker. Once food was collected and basic needs were met, people often had time to rest, socialize, or enjoy leisure activities. Of course, life wasn't easy. There were dangers everywhere. Wild animals, injuries, disease, harsh weather, and food shortages were constant threats. Survival required knowledge, teamwork, and adaptability. Everything began to change when humans discovered agriculture. Instead of constantly moving in search of food, people started planting crops and raising animals. Farming allowed communities to settle in one place. Villages grew into towns, and towns eventually became cities. As societies became larger and more complex, people started specializing in different tasks. Some became farmers, others became builders, traders, soldiers, or craftsmen. Over time, these specialized roles evolved into what we now call jobs. So, what did ancient humans do all day before jobs existed? They hunted, gathered food, collected water, built shelters, repaired tools, cared for their families, taught their children, told stories, created art, watched nature,
and worked together to survive. They didn't have bosses, salaries, or office meetings, but they were far from doing nothing. In many ways, their daily activities laid the foundation for the world we live in today. Humans have always worked hard. Only the definition of work has changed.